I've lived in northern Monmouth County in New Jersey my entire life. I've been a fiction writer, actor, playwright, blogger, gourmet chef, home renovator, event planner, landscape architect, and decorator. Now, I'm married to a professional drummer who is also an award-winning photographer, so the arts have always been really important to me. There are so many people in this part of New Jersey that are involved in the arts, and I am planning to talk to all of them. Well, maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. And I'm inviting you to listen in. I'm Lucille Sapio, talking arts and culture, and this is Hazlitt Coffee Talk. My guest today, Kathy Reed, is best known for co-producing the Dam Site Dinner Theater for over a decade, mostly with her partner Dennis Lynch as Dencath Productions. But Kathy has literally started the acting careers of thousands of New Jersey actors and other theatrical backstage workers. But her career includes so much more. She started out as Miss New Jersey Hemisphere, and then she ran beauty contests. She was an actor, a singer, of course a producer, and after the Dam Site, Kathy and her business partner, husband John Dwyer, started Murder on Cue Mystery Company, which basically started the whole murder mystery industry in New Jersey. Eventually, they segued into corporate team building. Kathy is one of my oldest friends and an incredible person, and I'm so glad to have her here today. So today, I am here with Kathy Reed. Hello, Kathy.
Hi, Lucille.
It's so good to see you again. We haven't seen each other since the start of the coronavirus. So Kathy and I have been friends for, let's say, a long time.
You want a year?
Do you know the year?
I would believe it's 1976, and I think it was May.
I think you're right, yes. I was about 4 years old at the time.
Yes. I was 5.
So let me start out by asking you, as a producer of the Dam Site Dinner Theater, and for those of you who don't know, the Dam Site Dinner Theater was in Tinton Falls, and I think I worked there for about 10 years. How long was the dinner theater?
75 to 87.
So you and Dennis Lynch took over the top floor of an old mill that was a restaurant, and you cultivated a really rich, exciting environment for probably thousands of actors. But you got your start in show business a little earlier, didn't you?
Yes. My dad was an entertainer. My father's whole family was in entertainment, so it's kind of in my blood. My sister's blood. I did a lot of community theater as well as I sang in a rock band at the same time while I was doing the community theater.
What was the name of the band that you sang?
Duquesnes.
The Duquesnes.
After I quit the band and eventually ended up at a theater called the Barn Theater in Rumson, where a lot of actors ended up.
Billy Van Zandt and Jane Milmore got their start there.
And Billy did a lot of shows there. That's where I first met Billy. I remember driving him home one night after a show. He had his whole life planned out, and I think he achieved most of it.
When we worked at the Dam Site, and for those of you who don't already know it, I was an actor at the Dam Site. So give us some history on the Dam Site.
A woman whose hair I had done had told me about this place, the Dam Site. Told me about this room upstairs. She said it was a really cool room, blah, blah, blah. And we talked them into letting us do dinner theater in the upstairs room. Then we had a garage sale, and that's how we kind of started financing it. I stayed working with my job, so I was able to put the money in that we needed as we went along. Dennis didn't work, so he did a lot of the press releases and all that.
Kathy acted on stage in the beginning, but then you stopped and you started working more behind the scenes.
Well, in the beginning, it was kind of a necessary evil. Either we couldn't find someone or for budget reasons. So I was in almost every play in the beginning. Dennis and I were. After we became known, it was a little easier to get people.
To attract people.
Yeah, and we also were able to have the courage to assume we could at least pay someone.
Now, one of the traditions on the last show of every run, and every show ran about 5 weeks, right?
In the later years it did. In the beginning, though, it was maybe 2.
Regardless of how long the show ran, the last show was the night that all the actors played practical jokes on each other. But the trick was you could play a joke, but you couldn't let the audience know that you were playing a joke on somebody.
Yeah, I don't know that always was successful, but in fact, I can assure you it wasn't.
Do you know how that started?
I just used to do it all the time. That's all I know. I tortured people all the time. Dennis did not enjoy that. Dennis was pretty serious. He did not enjoy the practical jokes as much. But I will tell you, I believe that type of irreverent performing led to really good actors, quick on their feet, quick to think. There's actors, everyone that worked at the damn site, every actor developed a skill of farce and being quick on their feet, improv, so
Right.
good.
Because a lot of people don't realize that improvisational acting is so different from stage acting.
No, absolutely.
You know, some people can be great stage actors and yet be totally unable to improvise. But
Oh,
you're
sure.
right, by doing those
Yeah.
kind of practical jokes, you had to learn how to improvise.
As well as, because we did so many shows, sometimes something happened, they got sick, and we did not have understudies. Everybody was so quick on their feet and so able to really develop a skill where they could step in. And we had numerous times that happened.
Yeah, you've seen several people that you've employed as actors go on to success and even and sometimes fame. Billy Van Zandt and Jane Milmore became very successful television writers. I know Billy was in Taps and
Well,
Jaws
yeah,
too. Who else has gone on to some degree of fame?
There's one fellow that I can just say because I see him all the time. Jimmy Ortlieb, his name is. He's a character actor. I know he did Renfield with us in Dracula. Yeah, he did Renfield. The biggest, most difficult thing to do is to select a play. Of course, to me, if we're dinner theater, especially for our dinner theater, I knew sex sold. So there were always
A lot of sex
farce,
farces.
always sex farce. So
Yeah.
I would go to New York and I would go pick up a script, and I found this record called Cleavage. Well, I decided I wanted this. It was on Broadway for one day, so I managed to track the wife down, Rita Sheffield. And they told me that I could not have that, but they wanted to develop a new show, and I could use that. So we premiered that. That show did really, really well, but it was one time. That was it.
Right,
It was done
right.
one time.
So you were the off-Broadway opening for
Yeah, Rita is very bubbly personality, so she became very friendly with Bruce. So Bruce came to see them a couple times in this show.
For those who don't know who she means Bruce Springsteen.
Bruce Springsteen, sorry. But Bruce came as well many times to see Billy, of course, because Steve is Billy's brother.
Billy's
He
brother,
came
Steve
along.
Van Zandt.
Steve, which I was fortunate enough to produce the first 8, I think it was, of their shows.
And now, after you left the damn site, not immediately, but shortly thereafter, you started a murder mystery company called Murder on Cue.
Yes.
And this is where, once again, you and I worked together. In the early days, your company was the house entertainment at
Magnolia.
Inn. And you produced a dizzying number of different shows there and at other venues.
We
you
did them
also-
every week there,
Right,
too,
yeah.
so.
Well, what would you say is the strangest show you had? Not so much the script, but the
Oh
group
my God,
of people.
the audience. Oh my God, Lucille, there's so many. I mean, we did one, it was in New York, somewhere in New York, and it was a private party. We were hired for the private party, and little did we know, they were all high
They were all
on
what?
coke.
Oh, they were all high.
Yes, I mean, but I'm talking dangerously hard. They wanted all the actors to partake, and it was frightening, really. So we did it quickly and left. I will tell you, though, 99% of the time, we had wonderful people, wonderful house parties. We did a surprise birthday party, a customized surprise birthday party for Kevin Jonas, his wife. That was a few years
Of
ago.
the Jonas Brothers?
Yeah. We had a butler, and so she was surprised. She was expecting a Dean Martin look-alike singer. I think in the end she wanted to know, was Dean Martin still coming? It was like,
Well, of course, one of my favorite shows was Mamma Mia, It's a Murder,
yes.
which was the Italian engagement party.
And that part we wrote for you, Lucille.
That was a great part. Carmela Mozzarella. So how did you get the idea for that show?
John being Italian, so we thought
This is
it
John
was-
Dwyer.
John, my husband John, also my partner. We wrote it for his friend Vinny.
Yeah, it was
and-
about him.
Yeah, it was. And then another, Frankie, was based on someone that I knew.
Well, that was a fun show
Carmela.
because, again, it was scripted, but it was also a lot of improv. So we got to really develop the characters. And that was one of the things about murder mystery shows. The actors really get to develop the characters. They get to really become those characters and can decide what would Carmela Mozzarella do if her curlers wouldn't come out of her hair. So there was all that improvisation that made it really fun for the actors.
We've done a lot of really, really interesting murder mysteries in the beginning. You know, people asked us if we would come and do it for them after they saw them at the Magnolia. But it eventually developed into team building. Like, it used to do quite a few hunts at Washington, D.C. in the mall. But no, we've done a lot of really interesting team building. We did one show that was really interesting, fascinating to put together. We did in conjunction with the opening of the Dick Tracy movie. It was Quaker Oats that asked us. Quaker Oats was one of the sponsors, I believe. And we went on to do something then, a tour up to Vermont for Quaker Oats to do in the conjunction for, I think they were opening, or they were starting a new pet food. We went in a large van, and we went from there to the Bavarian Manor.
Oh, it's good. I was just going to bring up the Bavarian Manor.
That was a frightening trip. It was a 15-passenger van, and let me tell you, being stuck with 15 actors in a van like that was a trying trip.
The Bavarian Manor was a place you would do weekend murder mysteries.
We started on Saturday, but they had some sort of a hunt on Friday, and we started on Saturday. But Madeline Kahn got her start there.
Oh, really?
She was a singing waitress. That was a great place, though. The audience had such a fabulous time. Fabulous time.
Now, other than me, who are some of your favorite people to work with?
Oh, goodness.
Either on stage or behind the scenes.
Dennis was hard, though. Dennis my
Lynch.
original partner, yeah, he was hard because Dennis was he was a perfectionist.
But an excellent actor.
Yes.
Such a good actor.
He was a fine actor, but he was picky. He didn't want fooling around, so of course I loved to fool around, which led me to think of Jane. I love Jane Milmore because I used to play practical jokes on her while she was on stage. I would torture her, and I know she hated it. She hated it. Oh my God, I used to love she tickled me to death, that tickling her. And of course, Billy, very serious. Billy did not like fooling around.
No, he didn't like joking
around.
Oh,
no, he did not like fooling around at all. And of course, at the dam site, there was plenty of it around him.
And which is funny because his stuff was always very funny that he wrote.
Oh, yeah.
But you would think that he would be like a jokester, but he was definitely all business.
Billy was very serious. And I mean, during his shows, no, there was no fooling around. I mean, there's so many. Everybody that I performed with, I loved performing with them. Otherwise, I would not have had them at the dam site.
I know there were some people that they were there once and they never came back. Sometimes it was real obvious reasons.
I was very proud of the fact that I had a really good knack for picking people. And for me, the number one thing was I had to trust the person. Obviously, they'd have to be skillful, but because they dealt so close with the audience, it was important to me that they had a good rapport with other people because that was important.
Yeah, and you couldn't afford to have someone that wouldn't show up because, like you said, no understudies. Do you think that there is a future for local theater?
I fear for theater, period, because of the coronavirus. I should hope it comes back, but, obviously right now that's not an option.
But in terms of local theater, back in the day, there was the dam site, there was the barn, there was the Monmouth Players. Now we do have the Homedale Theater Company. Is there a future in theater in this area?
I would think so. And remember, the demand for murder mysteries is not as much as it was before either. But everything does go in cycles. I mean, we saw that with murder mysteries. Because we've been doing them for so long. And we saw them fade away for a while and then come back. I mean, there was a time when we started college touring in 94, I think. I mean, we were doing like 40 a month. Now, I'm serious, all over the country. So that was when it was at its peak.
Well, I can see, actually, as a result of the coronavirus, there is a possibility that murder mysteries might actually make a comeback because you could have it in someone's home. It can be limited to the number of people that are there. The actors can be separated from the people that are watching it. So it might be a safer way to go to the theater.
I mean, I don't know that I would want to put someone in an actor in harm's way.
Well, I wouldn't say now. I'm saying,
in a
year.
Yeah.
Does your company, Murder on Cue, have a website?
We do. Kathy Reed Productions. So since we morphed into doing so many other things, it's Kathy Reed Productions.
.com?
Yes. We're also team building and more as well. So that was all the team building we did.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Murder on Cue Mysteries.
If somebody said to you that they wanted to start a theater in the area, what would be your advice to them?
I never like to discourage anyone from doing anything, and I think entertainment people can be easily deterred from going into entertainment because it is so very, very, very difficult, no matter what you want to do. And obviously there are a lot of hurdles for live theater, everything from the space to the amount of money you're gonna need to put it together, everything from lights to sets. I mean, there's a lot. Costumes, I mean, just before the actors even walk in, there's so much of a cost. I don't believe in discouraging anyone from anything. So advice, I would say, whatever you want to do, make sure you know that you have an audience, you pick the correct product. That is the most important thing, is picking in the show. I mean, you have to know something that's going to sell. So we used to hand out these questionnaires all the time and ask people what they wanted to see. So one of the shows that they kept saying was Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf? So we did Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, and we got an excellent review. And that show was not a success.
Yeah. I'm thinking of some of the shows like Hey Naked Lady, Right Bed, Wrong Husband.
Who Goes Bare? In One Bed, Out the Other.
In One Bed and Out the Other.
I mean, it was, a sex farce.
I mean, they're mild by today's standards.
Oh, God, yes.
Very mild.
I had to go searching to find a corset that by today's standards is kind of like a dress.
Oh.
And before one show was selected, we might have read 10 or 15.
Yeah.
We read to page 10. If it didn't get us by page 10, we tossed it. Because our audiences needed a quick fix. I think in the beginning, when the actors that came, everybody was not prepared for the type of farce that we did. I remember saying to so many, I would just say, you have to forget everything you ever learned.
Right. Forget what you learned in acting school.
I mean, I would see, people not enjoying themselves and being tense and not being able to let go. And doing farce, you had to let go.
Yeah.
You had to let go.
I believe it's a lot harder to do comedy than to do drama. Because,
absolutely,
with comedy, you really have to kind of play it straight.
I used to tell everyone again and again, I probably told you, you have to believe what you're saying and what you're doing. You can't telegraph the joke to the audience, or you can't show them you don't believe it. You have to be and live that insane,
you have to be that
wacky character, which I know is obviously very difficult with a lot of characters.
Yeah. Kathy, it has been great talking with you.
Down memory lane here.
And I'm sure there are loads of people in this part of New Jersey who thank you for your contributions to art and culture, especially all the actors that you gave work to.
But I have to thank them for my lifetime of memories and friends. They enriched my life, and I never had children, and most of them, they were my children. They are my family, continue to be my family.
Well, thank you again, Kathy. I enjoyed this.
Be safe, be well.
I love the arts, and I love to talk, and that's why I'm talking to local artists. And if you like listening, then subscribe to my podcast. You can do it on this page, on iTunes, or anywhere you get podcasts. I'm Lucilla Sapio, and this is Hazlitt Coffee Talk.